This is Matthew Kratter from Trade University, and today I want to talk about a cranky bankster who's been attacking Bitcoin. He's been attacking it for many years. He recently attacked Bitcoin at the Davos meeting. This is Jamie Dimon, who's the CEO of JP which is a large and corrupt U.S. bank. And in this interview, which I will link to in the description notes below so you can listen to it yourself, it's only about 2 minutes long, Jamie Dimon says that Bitcoin itself is a hyped up fraud. Crypto is a decentralized Ponzi scheme. It's a pet rock. And I've been getting a lot of questions about this, especially his comment on how Satoshi could come back and increase the maximum supply to 21 million. So that's why I'm covering it in today's video. Now, JP Morgan and Jamie Dimon are definitely qualified to know about Ponzi schemes, especially because JP Morgan was one of the large banks that was helping Bernie Madoff run his multi-billion-dollar Ponzi scheme. I believe this was before Jamie Dimon was CEO, but definitely JP Morgan has this very corrupt history, and it has a more recent corrupt history helping out this guy with doing you-know-what, according to this lawsuit. So I'll link to that in the description notes below. JP Morgan since 2000 has paid over $36 billion in fines, just an unbelievable amount. This is the cost of doing business, of course, when you are a bankster, because they're still getting very rich. Jamie Dimon himself is a billionaire in spite of this. But I bring up this context just so you know where Jamie Dimon's coming from, where JP Morgan's coming from, and whether they have the moral high ground to call out other people and to call software protocols a Ponzi scheme. In the same interview, Jamie Dimon does the old Bitcoin bad, blockchain good spiel. And I just wanted to tell Jamie, 2017 called and wants its talking points back. I thought we'd heard the last of this, but it looks like old guys like Jamie Dimon want to bring it back. He talks also about how JP Morgan has their own internal blockchain, which may or may not be shared with different banks. And I would answer, who really cares that JP Morgan or some other bank has an internal blockchain? Wouldn't a centralized database work better for whatever they're doing? If you have a blockchain, if you have an open ledger, a transparent blockchain, this is definitely not something that JP Morgan wants to share with the outside world. So it's an internal thing, and in most cases, centralized databases are a much more efficient use of computing power than blockchains. The only time you want a blockchain is when you want some sort of decentralization and you want some transparency, and JP Morgan is definitely not interested in giving up their power to decentralization, or offering any transparency into their workings, especially when they commit so many crimes. But if JP Morgan did not have a blockchain technology and they were using a centralized database instead, then they couldn't brag about their latest blockchain technology on CNBC interviews. Blockchain as a technology, and we've talked about this before, is only really interesting when you combine it with distributed proof of work. And this is Satoshi's real innovation, which I will link to in this video below, which I've called There's Nothing Special About Blockchain, in which I try to dispel a lot of these misconceptions surrounding Bitcoin and blockchain. So now we turn to what was really the most interesting part of this interview, where Jamie Dimon went on to question Bitcoin's maximum supply cap of 21 million coins. And this is what he said. This is a quote. "How do you know it's going to stop at 21 million? Maybe it's going to get to 21 million, and then Satoshi's picture is going to pop up or come up and laugh at you all." Well, my answer to Jamie Dimon would be, you could actually check the open source code for this if you had half a brain cell. Unfortunately, banking, it's one of the few jobs in the world where an ignorant and arrogant moron can become a billionaire like Jamie Dimon. And he's so smug, he's so arrogant, and he just sounds so stupid saying something like this, because Bitcoin software is completely transparent and open source. And we could check in there and see if as part of Bitcoin Core, there's a JPEG of Satoshi that's going to pop up when the last sats are mined. And I haven't looked myself. I'm not a developer, but anyone who does, please let me know if there's a JPEG of Satoshi hidden somewhere in the code. I think this is very unlikely. It's more just a TV shtick that Jamie Dimon is doing, of course. Now, the larger question is, could Satoshi return and try to raise the maximum supply of Bitcoin above 21 million, or could he somehow do it remotely if he's still alive? Now, yes, theoretically he could. If he were to do it, though, I've already crafted a personal message for him in advance. And that personal message is this: I will never run this revised software on my node, and even if Satoshi himself were to return and command me to do it, which itself is probably not how a cypherpunk like Satoshi would behave or how he would go about doing things, I would not run this software that raised the cap, the maximum supply cap. You wouldn't run it either. No real Bitcoiner would run this revised code, because if you raise the maximum supply of Bitcoin, you're basically diluting your own Bitcoin holdings and ensuring that you will now own a smaller piece of the overall pie. That's committing financial and economic suicide. It runs against everyone's incentives, and that's why if you own Bitcoin, you would never do this. If you were to raise the cap, you'd also be destroying what is perhaps Bitcoin's most well-known and famous and important feature, which is the scarcity, 21 million coins, which everyone knows about, even non-Bitcoiners, and the immutable monetary policy, which was set into effect when Satoshi released the code. It's never been changed. The issuance schedule, very different from Ethereum, which changes its monetary policy every few years. Now, what Jamie Dimon is missing when he makes a snide comment like this is that no one, not even Satoshi, can force you to change the code that you run on your own personal node. And it's that code, it's Bitcoin Core, that monitors the blockchain and rejects any blocks that violate the Bitcoin rules, including the maximum supply. And if you do change the code, those who change the code, they've essentially forked themselves off to a new network and a new asset. So you can certainly do this. You can run your own Bitcoin Core software that's modified to have a 22 million or 25 million coin cap, but you're doing your own thing. There's no exchange that will accept it. There are no miners who will mine on that, and no one's incented to join you. So the metaphor I use is you can play NBA basketball, which is the game that most people play, or you can play donkey basketball, where you sit on a donkey and play basketball. You're welcome to do that, but you're going to be playing with very, very few people. Likewise, if you fork the Bitcoin code and include a higher maximum coin supply, you're going to be playing your own donkey basketball. You're going to be on a new network. You basically will have created a new asset that's no longer Bitcoin. What's the conclusion from all of this? Basically, banksters like Jamie Dimon appear to have zero intellectual curiosity. Bitcoin's been around for a very, very long time. If you're a CEO, if you're in finance, if you're a banker, you think you'd have at least a little bit of intellectual curiosity to see what this thing is that has a market cap in the hundreds and hundreds of billions, that keeps crashing, but then keeps hitting new highs and doesn't seem to be going away. So if you had any intellectual curiosity, you would be investigating this. Of course, if you had any intellectual curiosity, you would not become a bankster when you grow up. It's very hard for Jamie Dimon and Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger to understand something when their livelihoods depend on them not understanding it. And with this, we return to Warren Buffett's famous saying that Bitcoin is rat poison. I love this meme because it shows, we should add JP Morgan down here as one of the rats that Bitcoin is eventually going to put out of business. If you want to learn more about Warren Buffett and his take on Bitcoin and his fiat mentality, I'll also link to this video in the description notes below. If you found this video helpful, be sure to hit that subscribe and like button. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I publish my next video. And let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.